This is NHTV2, North Haven Government Television, a service of North Haven Community Television. The following program is brought to you through the support of the Town of North Haven.
Welcome everybody for Planning and Zoning Monday, July 10th. Planning and Zoning Commission. My name is Vern Carlson, and I'm the chairman of the commission. We have a reasonably short agenda tonight. We have some of these that are off. You heard them all. Everybody heard them all. That is off, but I'll ask again. Just let me introduce our staff to you, which is here tonight, which is Andy Belalacca. He is our town engineer. My extreme right, Alan Fredrickson. Next to him is Alan Fredrickson, is our land use administrator. My extreme left, Christy Turner, is our court reporter. Some of our staff is out tonight, so if I continue to Rod, would you?
Yeah, Rod Williams, alternate.
Jim Giletti, regular member.
Teresa Ranciato-Vili, secretary.
Paul Wyman, vice chair.
Brian Cummings, regular member.
Mark Parisi, alternate.
Okay, very good. Alan, John Triana will not be here tonight. He is tied up somewhere, so he is not here. And he is the only one that's missing, I believe. With that, we will, is there any changes that we don't know about, Alan?
Well, I think we should just repeat for the record that items number 2, 3, 6, and 10 involving 37 Nettleton Avenue and 5100 Ridge Road will not be heard this evening. 37 Nettleton is scheduled to be heard on August 7th, which is our next regularly scheduled meeting. 5100 Ridge needs to be heard by wetlands, and they need to decide on a referral application prior to being heard by this commission. So if you check in with land use before the next meeting, or if you want to go to a wetlands meeting, you can go on July 26th. And that will be at Park and Rec in room 2.
Got it? Okay. Okay, we're gonna start off with our first public hearing. Teresa, will you
All
please
right.
read it out?
P23-11S, special permit application of Area Cooperative Educational Services, ACES, applicant and owner relative to 88 Bassett Road, map 75, lot 43. Plan entitled ACES North Haven, regulatory submission 88 Bassett Road, North Haven, Connecticut, prepared by SLR International Corp. Dated June 8, 2023, scale 1 inch equals 40 feet, R20 and R40 zoning districts.
Okay.
Great.
And if we can let the record show that the two applications will be taken together,
Yes, correct.
the site plan
The site plan
P2311.
and the public hearing will be taken together.
So it's
Thank
taken
you.
with P23-11 site plan application. Would you like me to read that whole thing in?
Yes, let's read that in. Take a moment. Go ahead.
So it's site plan application of Area Cooperative Educational Services, applicant and owner relative to 88 Bassett Road, map 75, lot 43. Plan entitled ACES North Haven, regulatory submission 88 Bassett Road, North Haven, Connecticut, prepared by SLR International Corp. Dated June 8, 2023, scale 1 inch equals 40 feet, R20 and R40 zoning districts.
Okay, gentlemen, now.
Great. Good evening, everybody. For the record, my name is David Stein. I'm a principal with the architectural and engineering firm of Silver Petroselli and Associates. Our office is at 3190 Whitney Avenue in Hamden.
David Dixon, principal landscape architect for the firm of SLR. Offices at 99 Realty Drive in Cheshire, Connecticut.
Great. Well, thank you, everybody, for having us here tonight. We're representing ACES. This project has gone through a few reiterations, and we're at a point now where the property was recently transferred from the state of Connecticut, who owned and operated this as part of the Gateway Community College facility. Over the past 2 years, the use of it has been combined with the Gateway College portion for their automotive area, which is sort of located in the former, if everyone recalls, this was a former junior high school, and in those former gym areas, there's actually a primary and a secondary gym is where the Gateway facility currently operates and will remain to be operated for a period of time. ACES was originally a tenant within the space when the state of Connecticut owned that property, and they actually moved one of their primary schools into the space from Hamden just about 2 years ago. The plan is they're actually moving out this summer and moving back to Hamden, in which now the primary use for this building for ACES will be students with special needs, students with physical disabilities, students with emotional and social needs. So what we are doing is essentially a full renovation to the building. It has not been renovated in any significant way and in almost since its original incarnation, although there were some modifications, but they were fairly minor. So what we are doing to the property in terms of at least the inside of the building, just to give you a sense of the general scope of the work, is that we are fully air conditioning the building, we're replacing the windows, we're sprinklering the building, because currently the building is not sprinklered, and that is required as state statute for public schools. This is a magnet school, operated, as I mentioned, through ACES, who owns the property, which will draw from students from around different districts.
David, when you refer to the building, are you referring just to the gym or to all three buildings?
Really, essentially, it's all three buildings, even though that these are sort of separated just by wings. I am referring to sort of all three buildings. So as far as that, we are keeping the footprint, and let's just say of all three parts of that building, and we're doing a full renovation on the inside, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and we are also just reprogramming it for those students with really severe physical ailments. All of these students are brought to the site in individual transportation, so they are not brought in the traditional way by a large school bus. There's about 200 students in terms of total that would be coming to the school, so obviously a lot less than actually what is there today or what would have been if this was a junior high or sort of a traditional middle school or so forth. These students range in age from kindergarten to actually 20, 21 or 21 and a half, because they are responsible to deal with students after 18 that they do take care of with some post-educational training, job training, and so forth. The work to the site that we'll get to slightly is that we are keeping the majority of the site intact, but we are doing some improvements, mainly to that entry drive. We're widening the entry drive to allow for that queuing. As I mentioned, right now, if you just stack buses, you would maybe have a half a dozen buses. In this case, there will be a succession of vans or small vehicles that transport that one or two individual students. Most of those are in wheelchairs or have some mobility issues. So we are modifying the sidewalk or main entry to the building. The main entry to the building is not on Bassett Road. The main entry is actually positioned there. So that is our sort of de facto front of the building. There is a ramp and stairs right now, and we are recreating that to make that fully accessible.
Just a quick question.
Absolutely.
So will school begin at one time, so will you have all of the cars and vans coming at the same time?
Yes, and there also will be some parent drop-offs, so there is sort of a loop of an inner loop. There's sort of that main inner loop, and then it allows for also drop-off on that upper part of the parking. But yes, there is essentially a staggered time, but in essence, they are all sort of coming at a longer window than what you would traditionally have where school starts at this hard period of time.
So it'll be a better queue than there was with the buses?
Much better queue, yes, and the length of that is much longer. We've also allowed for a bypass lane, so if the queue is long, it's not like it's backing up. If for example, you're a staff member and you're coming in at that period of time, you could actually bypass that and continue on to the parking piece of it.
Good, great, thanks.
So again, the envelope is being, new windows are being replaced. We are replacing the roof. We're adding new mechanical units to the building. Right now, there's very limited mechanical and ventilation. It's key to students with these health needs is to improve the ventilation quality of the space, and accessibility around the site. There are some sidewalks and also the connection, as the property, the town of North Haven owns the adjacent parcel. So as you can see, those tennis courts that are shown there are the town of North Haven's property. So we sort of sit adjacent to that, and the intent is that the parking associated with that, those fields will also be used by the public. And then again, to reiterate that Gateway uses this in essentially all year round as part of their automotive program that currently exists. Their intent is to move out, and then over the next few years, they're planning to build a new facility over in Long Wharf in New Haven. Once that building is built, they will move out, and ACES will have the entire facility. And then at that time, it's possible that some other site plan improvements will be made, such as just parking and reconfiguration of any parking that's no longer needed because Gateway is no longer there. So with that, I'll turn it over to David to get into more of the site plan piece of it, and then obviously we're here for any questions.
Again, Dave Dixon, Principal Landscape Architect with SLR. The project site is about 20 acres. The area that is shown here in color is significantly less. This is the area of where the work is going to go. It's about 3 acres in here. Bassett Road down here in the bottom, north is to your left. As Dave had mentioned, the primary entrance is back here. Prior to this, we have received administrative approval from the inland wetlands in town. We have submitted a traffic report, and we have received comments back from the town planner, the fire marshal, police, as well as a phone call this morning with the town engineer indicating that no comments were included. All of the comments we found to be insignificant and nothing that we cannot accommodate. David mentioned the entrance drive. Really, this is the area in dark gray here indicates the widened area with the turn lane. So this is several hundred feet in here of queuing that then gets us onto a drive that's 26 feet wide. Therefore, the ability to bypass if necessary. Clearly, if you're faculty or a parent and you're parking, you would just come up the middle lane and continue on your way and be able to park in the parking lot over in here. The extent of improvements in the parking lot is just the expansion of this area in here to ensure that we can accommodate all the handicap spaces required. There are 425 spaces on the site now, and there will be 425 spaces when we're through. There's no expansion of the proposed parking. Along with the renovations David mentioned, there is a proposed playground. This will be a poured-in-place safety surface, rubberized safety surface. We talked about a little bit, Dave mentioned about the connectivity of the sidewalks, ADA compliant all the way around in here. We have some improvements here, and then the balance of it stays the same. On the south side, or over here on plan right, is the existing service drive. That is going to be repaved. That's the reason why it is shown different. This is going to be heavy duty pavement, so this will be a 4-inch section as opposed to a typical 3-inch. It exists now. We're just going to repave it and redo it. Over here is the other loading service to the north. There's modest reconfiguration in here to allow a truck to pull up and then back in to the loading space. There's a new loading dock that's proposed, perpendicular to the building. In terms of utilities, right now there's a single water line coming off of Bassett. That is proposed to be split into domestic and fire. And that really is the extent of the proposed work. I have Rock Enman, who is a project engineer with me. If you have any questions relative to engineering or utilities, we can address them. But at this point, we'd like to turn it back over to you for comments, questions.
just have a few, I'm sure everybody's got their own question. Well, how much activity you're gonna have in the front of the building toward Bassett Road?
Really nothing besides the repaving of this drive. There's no changes to the existing entrance drive until you get up to here.
Right, okay, but in the extreme, is there gonna be anything done there?
No, the topography is fairly
It's pretty
steep.
Yeah.
Yep, so, other than that blue area, which is sort of a plateau area, it's relatively flat now. We're flattening that out for the play surface, so that is really the only meaningful activity that will be on the street. It's intended to be faced, we will be fencing that in for security reasons, but beyond that, there's really no, work intended to be up front other than signage.
Okay.
David, how high is that fence?
The fence will be 6 feet tall.
Well, I know, we had talked about that sometime prior to this.
Yes.
That's all that, I understand exactly what's going on there, all the drop-offs to the north of the building and the bypass lane and all that, but I'm sure the commission has got questions on that. Jim, Teresa, Paul?
Well, I'll start, and I'm always interested in traffic studies, because in all the time I've been on any of the commissions I've been on, I've yet to have a traffic study that didn't say things are gonna be better or not worse, and this seems to be right in that same level.
I would say ours is different, right? We are a different use than comparing. The students that currently exist there right now will be leaving that school, which is a conventional primary K through 8 school, will be leaving, and a new students with special needs,
So what's there right now is a K through 8, and how many students are there now? Ballpark. I'm not gonna hold you to it.
600 students.
There are 600 students on site there right now?
Yes.
Because I did read, this says that the ACES Wintergreen program is going to be relocated, and the village school and sales program are essentially going in there, right?
That is correct.
And it's got about 220 students.
That is
and
correct.
300 staff members.
That is
So
correct.
How many staff members are there now? Is that similar?
No, so because this is a school with
Special
special
needs,
needs, the student to
there's more
teacher
staff.
ratio is 2 to 2.5,
Right.
teachers per
So
student.
that's what gave me a little pause about the parking. If there's 300 staff members, they all have to park, right? So you've got 425. Parents are not gonna park there, or people that drop off the students, nobody else really parked. I mean, there's still 125 spaces. I'm
Yeah.
not saying it's not enough, I'm just inquiring.
Right, so most of the drop-offs are not the parents, those are purely just ACES transport. So
Okay.
they do not,
Stay on site.
they do, so it's not staff who then parks in additional to that 200. I also want to point out that part of that 200, some of that, about 25% of that are transient staff. They come for in-service type of activities. So there could be a group that comes in specifically for speech pathology and
Right.
so forth. So that isn't a permanent staff of, 180 days of school time. But to your point, we know we have accommodated for that staff, even if they were all there simultaneously.
There's enough parking.
There's
for
enough parking for there.
Because there's nowhere else to park.
That-
You
that's-
gotta be able to park on there, there's nothing around there to park. And the concern of the board is we don't wanna do anything that's gonna damage the neighborhood,
That-
right?
Cor- Correct.
And so that gets me to the second half of it, and so it says the level of service will be D or better. D, not great, right? But it's as good as, you're not gonna make it any worse than it is now. That's the essence of what this traffic study says, right?
That's correct.
It's not gonna impact the turns down the street or people coming in and out. It's not gonna have nothing worse than what you got now, and hopefully better because of the queuing.
Yeah, I would say look at it from just this practical perspective, is that it's very different when even you mentioned the parents. I have 100 students. Well, these type of students do not have the similar activities.
Like a PTA.
Well, there's involvement, but it's in a very much smaller component than you would with a traditional school or one that currently exists there right now. So that activity, I think because of our just having one primary entry and exit is what's challenging, right? That's why the D rating comes into play, where, some schools have a primary entryway and a secondary loop around the back, so,
And I'm not so worried about the people coming in and out of your school, to be frank. It's obviously not impacting the people on either side. That would be my only questions.
Couple things. So, I used to live right there. I know that people in the neighborhood used to like to walk the dogs and go up there. So what are you doing for security now with the school? Because A, you have a different population, and B, it's like a three-sided question. So I'm assuming during school hours, there's gonna be something more than a sign saying that people can't walk in and out and around the school with their dogs or whatever, or not?
well, because the park is there, there's
Right.
this is still there's still a public property. How we're addressing security is in that primary entryway. We are actually building or adding we call it an addition, but it's really, there's an inset. We're creating a secure entry vestibule with bullet and blast resistant entry. The building will be fully fortified, okay,
Okay.
so all the doors will be locked. But the primary entry to this building is no longer open to the public, and there is a security guard that is sitting in a vestibule that is brought out proud, so now they have good viewing ability, and there are all new cameras that are being sort of navigated and positioned around the building to provide that protection for the building. That's why we are also making a accessible route, from that playground through, so there is a better, at least a simpler pathway to navigate, but there still is those ball fields are still open to the public.
Okay, so the public will be able to walk up the driveway
Yes.
around there and walk their dogs?
Yes,
Okay, and then school hours, I know I asked you about beginning, but school will be out somewhere before the teams and everybody else come in, okay.
yes.
All right, I'm glad you're putting sprinklers, because apparently when I was there, they didn't care.
There was-
You know?
Yeah. They are required by state statute, so.
Yeah, that was my old junior high. Go ahead, Vern, I'm done.
Well, just a quick question on the playground. You were saying that they walk around the building, or they have to come through the building to get to the
So the playground, actually, there's two exits. There's two exits, one there and one there. We're
Okay.
adding an accessible ramp, because those are about a half a level up, and that will bring you to the playground.
My point is, someone could walk up the driveway and walk into that playground.
It's gonna be fenced, so that's the purpose of the six foot
Okay.
high fence, and that will be locked.
Okay, so they're gonna lock the kids into the playground?
Essentially, they're locked in, and again, these are students that have a
Right.
very high, teacher ratio to provide their oversight and such.
Okay.
Yeah, David, and I think Teresa addressed this, but the school hours, you'll have sufficient time for that parking lot to clean out before people start going to the ball fields and using the ball fields?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
That is correct. These are traditional school hours. They're not extended past any extended time. The after, if anything, it's even less of an impact because there's very little after-school programs that go along with it, so.
Okay, thank you.
No, I've addressed my concerns, we're good.
So let me just ask one thing quickly. There were comments here by the fire chief, you're aware of those, about the fire hydrant and a lot of things it says literally, considerable modifications are needed within the building to become compliant. For the fire chief, you're aware of that. You're gonna make the fire chief happy, I assume.
Yeah, we are, as David mentioned, we are bringing a brand new line from the street, so we are tapping on. We're bringing a brand new line because one doesn't exist. There will be a hydrant connection that'll be located basically where that loading dock is and entered into the building. And obviously, because of being fully sprinkled, we are also, a new fire alarm is also being
And you're gonna run
instituted.
that all by the chief, is what he's.
Yes, actually, what is required, because this is a school facility project, the building official and fire marshal need to sign off on this prior to going out to bid.
So, thanks.
I have a question related to the, I guess, the traffic study. In the conclusion, there's a sentence that says that if there's any backing onto Bassett Road, it's recommended that the future school consider starting a scheduled pickup and drop off 15 minutes earlier to help distribute the school traffic volumes and decrease the PQs. My question is that something that the school would be willing and able to do?
Yeah, absolutely. So as I mentioned, this is different. This is because in a traditional school, you would have the buses, this group of buses come. They're able to stagger the pickup times with those individuals. Some could be coming from 3 towns over. Some could be coming just from Wallingford or New Haven. So they're able to sort of adjust those times of delivery.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
I just want to follow up on that a little bit, on the vans, on the drop-off on the north side of the school.
Yes.
On the drop-off time there, I saw a lot of vans in there, school buses and vans. Will it become that many that'll get down to Bassett Road, as far as the stacking goes?
Good evening. The North Haven Library will be closing in 30 minutes. Public computers, copiers, and Wi-Fi will be shutting down in 15 minutes. All bookstore purchases along with library card registrations must be completed by 7:45. Thank you.
Yeah. While Dave gets a scale, just I'll.
Yeah, well, I just saw a lot.
So our intent is that we can begin, queuing could extend from here all the way to here. From this point, we are making, this is all curbless at this point.
Oh, I see.
Okay, so those vans can sort of disembark, especially the vans that need the accessible ramps. So you can begin, and Dave will show you where we're able to sort of queue from here with the number of vans, and then those could sort of continue on. The thought too is if it does back up, that they're able to bypass, they could queue themselves here, and they could loop themselves back around. So I think we're able to manage
The
that.
system looks good, but I was just wondering if you could get that much stacking in there. Would you need that much? Apparently, you got a lot of stacking, I guess.
Because you can, if the queue is long and gets close down to Bassett, as we said, they could bypass and they could wait in this upper loop, and then they could reinsert themselves
Okay, so
back
there's no
in.
intention on backing and the queue to get all
No,
the-
because, well, it's 100 it's essentially, if it's 2 students per van or so, it's 100 vans. If those are all, conceivably, they wouldn't all be arriving all at one time. If that was the case, we could loop 50 around here, and we could loop 50 around the bottom.
The
Dave-
loop
Dave-
queue is about 650 feet from the start of the extra lane to the end of the drop-off passenger loading zone.
How far is that, I'm sorry?
650.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
David, regardless of the stacking, you would still be using the secure entrance for all entries?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, there would be no other entryway.
Thank you.
Good enough, okay. Anybody else on the commission? Staff? Okay, anybody here like to speak in favor of this application? Anyone in favor? Anyone in opposition? Any questions? Sir? Step forward, no, step forward. State your name, sir, please.
Don Caruso. I represent Regency Meadow Condominiums on Clintonville
Well,
Road.
you gotta give your address too.
I'm sorry?
Give the
Yeah.
address.
It's Fieldstone Court.
Okay, good
There's
enough.
numbers within that. So, part of our units border the railroad tracks on Clintonville Road, so we're used to noise. To the rear, there are wetlands, state wetlands, and the backyards on that rear building are pretty tight. So beyond that, we have no idea how far the wetlands go in. And we were just, a lot of us are concerned, as you can see by our turnout, that how far, is there any future plans to infringe on that wetlands to come closer to us? We're used to the ball field, it's a welcoming summer activity that we listen to. Nobody's, nobody's against that, obviously. And we're just wondering about that wetlands.
Well, to my knowledge, well, this commission would have nothing to do with the wetland, firstly, but secondly, I have heard nothing about encroaching into the wetlands whatsoever.
That was our concern.
Alan, isn't that town, isn't that our fields that?
I think it is.
Hit the wetlands, not the
There are
school?
wetlands on this property, they're identified and they're depicted on the drawings. They were given an administrative approval, as David Dixon indicated, because there's absolutely no impact on the wetlands. The chairman, the town engineer, the wetlands enforcement officer, myself inspected and made that determination. The activities that are there are not in the same drainage system, if you will, as the activities for the particular project here. So this project has nothing to do, that would not impact the wetlands and certainly would not encroach upon it or expand towards it.
Good to
So, yeah, and any future intent to do that would have to come back before this commission, would have to go back before wetlands.
Thank you.
But this is great.
Just hang on for a second. Could you show me where the properties they're talking are relative to your building? Do you know where?
I don't think they don't show on this,
Okay, but I mean
scale.
relative, north, south, east, west,
Here.
below,
You wanna
Up
come-
and to the right, Jim.
You can
Yeah,
come over
to
here
the
and
right
look.
here.
up and to the right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So we're in here somewhere. We're in here somewhere.
Okay, you can't do
But
what you do.
Mr. Caruso, if you wanna look over
You
here.
gotta go and talk to the
So
commission.
here's
Sir?
your Regency, here's you,
Yep.
okay? So where they are, match line,
Yep.
they're way.
This is the rear building.
Right, so
Right.
that's where you are.
Right.
And the school is over here, so you see where, all right?
Yeah, it's
Just so
difficult
you
to
know.
see the map
Yeah.
and the drawing from back there.
Well, Alan
So
will
we're
help
just-
you.
We're just,
If this makes any sense, this is just the key point, the location map, that's the site, that's where Regency is.
Okay.
So it's not, it doesn't
yeah,
abut.
it's away. Yep, yep.
And they're not really doing any, you're not really doing anything to the
satisfied?
building
Yeah,
anyway.
very much.
There's no
Thank you.
construction really other than
Somebody-
remodeling.
I'm the president of the
It's already
association.
there. Is that right?
Good, thank you.
We
Any other
have a
questions?
small
No, thank you.
elevator addition, but
But within the building, I mean, you're not expanding the building up, you're not digging up the grounds, you're not doing anything that's gonna have any wetlands impact or water flow.
no.
Okay.
Okay, good, okay. Anyone else like to,
Someone else raised their hand back there.
where are you? Step,
Any
step
chance
forward.
we can get to see what's on the,
Yeah.
You have
Yeah,
one?
Step forward.
that they're showing us? Quick and easy.
Oh, I see, yeah.
Oh, good.
Oh, okay.
So beyond the buildings that exist today.
Yep,
Sure.
come
You
up.
ha- you have to stand up and tell us who
The
you are.
buildings that exist today will continue to be the same.
Excuse me, sir, please, you have to come here and say your name. I'm sorry. We can't identify who is speaking.
Good.
I'm
Get
Angelo.
over by that mic if you could, sir. State your name.
I'm Angelo George, live on Regency Drive, Regency Meadows, Fieldstone Court. My question is, based on what you presented here, all three buildings that exist today will be existing tomorrow. There's no expansion of them one way or the other, correct?
Correct.
And where's the playground gonna be?
It's in the front.
And will that be available for residents in general or only for the students?
Only for the students.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Anyone else like to speak? Any comments? Okay. It's now or ever. Okay. Anybody else in the commission?
No.
Alan?
All set.
Good.
No, we're good, Vern.
Okay, folks, we'll close this public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Does anybody wanna leave or stay now, do it before we continue?
Okay. We'll just take a few minutes here till you guys can clear out. Thank you.
Yeah,
went to the list of saying.
Should be a 55-acre condo complex or whatever. The big book.
Right about now, I'm flipping states. I went down to that stream behind the house. Kids were pulling vines out of the evergreen trees. They were all from there.
That was part of the agreement on the property. Okay, folks, Dave. Teresa?
Okay, all right, we're moving on to site plans, which
Yep, site
there is
plan.
no public input with site plans.
That's correct, no public input, we want P 23-10.
E23-10, site plan application of 576 Washington Avenue LLC, applicant and owner relative to 576 Washington Avenue, map 96, lot 2. Plan entitled Site Plan Modification Parking Expansion, 576 Washington Avenue, Route 5, North Haven, Connecticut. Prepared by SLR, dated June 7, 2023, scale 1 inch equals 40 feet, CB 40 zoning district.
Okay, sir.
Beautiful. For the record, Rockin, Associate Civil Engineer with SLR International Corporation. I'm also joined by Mike Morrow from the owner applicant. This is an application that you've seen, I think, several times. Just to give some background. So this is the original approved site plan from 2019. It was originally approved for 18,975 square foot building and a ton of parking. The ton of parking, the ton of parking, which kind of straddled around the original site plan, was around the building. Additionally with that was a gravel parking lot in the rear of the building. And then fast forward a couple years, it was scaled down. The scaled down building then reduced to about a 12,000 square foot building. It was then located further back from the front setback, as well as we pulled in the amount of disturbance from the back property towards the building itself. Fast forward another couple years. We looked to increase the square footage of the building. It went from 12,000 to 15,600. Once again, we turned the wheels of time. Came in for another building addition, this time more indicative of the original site plan. We pushed it forward. So additional was 9,070 square feet. So for a total of about, actually I won't even do about, just give me 2 seconds and I'll give you an exact number. I don't know it off the top of my head and I can't do math that well. 24,670 square feet. And now we're before you again to essentially go back to the originally approved site plan and to expand the parking in the back for vehicle storage. This will be a paved parking lot. It'll be in the rear of what is now currently constructed building, as well as with this, I believe, compared to the original plan, we had, let's see, 4.8 acres of paved coverage previously in 2019, and we have 4.62 paved acres of impervious in this current site plan for a reduction of 0.18 from the originally approved site plan in 2019. Now, there's been changes, obviously, between then and now with regard to rainfall data, as well as now we're going to be expanding the area. So there was an analysis done for the drainage. The drainage is currently installed for what was the original site plan, or the second iteration site plan where we scaled back. Now with the fully developed site plan, what I'll call phase 6, there's going to be an increase in the amount of impervious compared to the full site plan. So we're mitigating that with an underground detention system, which is just an addition to the previously approved underground detention system, as well as just drainage infrastructure to move all the drainage. a bit in a nutshell. There's really no other way to describe the increase in the disturbance. Other than that, we're also going to be providing a buffer screening along the residential zone, which is also indicative of the originally approved site plan from 2019.
Paul?
Any questions with
Yeah, I do. Initially, you didn't have a showroom in that building, and then they came back.
Yep.
You came back for approval of the showroom. Is that
Yep.
on the new?
Good evening, it is 7:45. The North Haven Library will be closing.
You said it went back to the
in
original
15
drawing.
minutes.
The original.
Not essentially the original drawing, kind of the original shape and
Okay.
configuration.
Okay.
So the reason I said original drawing was because it's situated now, essentially where we originally wanted to put it. Obviously, there's some configuration changes within the building as well as just the nature of us changing the plan so many times. A specific automotive industry is very judgmental.
Now the buffer.
Yep.
The buffer behind that you already put in up there. Is it going to be the same buffer? It looks like it's going to be the same one that
Yes.
you put in
So
originally.
So the 2019 plan
Yeah.
and this current plan, so what you're seeing in black along this is essentially the same exact plans before, except for, I believe, we're also adding a fence,
Okay. All the way around.
all the way around.
Even on. Okay.
So and
Even
I
on
can
the
bring
south
this up-
on the south side.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So I can bring this up a little bit more so you can see.
And how tall is that fence?
I think we're going for 6 feet, if I recall.
Yeah.
Yeah, 6 feet white vinyl fence.
Okay. Sorry.
White
So-
vinyl.
Yep.
Okay.
So it kind of wraps
Is
all
there
the way
a
around.
berm in there?
Yeah, so the way that we did the grading was, it's kind of low going down here and then ramps back up to a berm.
Okay. And
So-
the fence is on.
Yeah.
Shrubbery will be up onto the berm itself then?
Yes, so essentially you're looking at kind of low berm and then plantings.
And I think I read that what you're planting is already going to be 5 to 7 feet tall.
It should be, yes.
And the fence will be on the other side of your?
Yes, so it'll be on the immediate adjacent to the the
Along
neighbor's
Coventry and
Which will also be up at the height of the berm?
Yes, it'll be at essentially the tallest point of the berm.
Yes,
Yep.
okay.
All right.
Lighting,
All right.
so lighting.
Yep.
You're following the dark sky.
Yes, so as with the previous applications, there's a photometric plan that was done. I still have to provide it to
Yeah,
Alan.
okay, I was looking for it, all right.
But essentially, it's the same cutoffs that were done previously, so it's dark sky compliant,
Okay.
full LED cutoffs, and the locations are shown on the plans themselves.
Okay.
And I literally just thought of this because of the berm, but because of the nature of the berm, the lowest light over here is actually going to be just at the height of the fence.
Okay, so.
So it might actually provide even more screening to the
Okay.
Seems
neighborhood.
like it would be.
So I think there's even better shadowing,
Okay,
incidentally.
all right, I just want to make sure of
Yep.
that, thank you.
So the upshot to this is, this whole application is to let you get more pavement for storage of vehicles?
Correct.
That's what we're doing,
Yeah,
right?
essentially.
And that, other than that, there's no real change?
Yeah, it's like I said, this is essentially the same
And
plan.
the
for
drainage all
2018.
works for you?
Drainage all works. Yeah, they added a significant amount of additional storage to support this new plan.
Yep.
That's all I have.
So the back portion, that is, I understand it's gonna be used for vehicle storage now.
Yeah.
What was it in the prior?
Vehicle storage.
Same thing? And it was
We're
gonna be paved?
the way that it worked was we were phasing everything out. So the original plan was essentially the full build out. Then we made a site plan modification to kind of scale back. And because it was such a large scale, then we came back before the commission, got that approved, and now we're essentially going back to the 2019 plan for the full build out. Mostly during this time, obviously COVID happened, so there's a lot of changes in between.
Now, Rock, you haven't. I'm sorry. You haven't started that showroom yet.
No.
And when's the plan to start that?
I'm just waiting for.
No, you have to
So,
come up.
just for the record,
Sorry.
Don't worry, I'm not a North Haven resident, so, but I'm north,
Yeah, just give me
Mike
your
Morrow,
name.
600 Washington Avenue. So, all of the, these drawings have been approved by Mercedes, that's this whole thing. They're just waiting to sign off on our construction drawings.
Okay.
So concept is all done, but the construction drawings, I'm waiting for them to sign off on.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you.
And then,
That's why we're still fenced, because we're gonna start construction after they sign off, then we'll start our construction.
Okay.
For the front, and we'll do the back at the same time.
This is for the vans, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the,
Yeah.
Sprinter vans, that's right.
For the vans.
My understanding was there's also pre-owned cars, or is
Yeah,
that?
we pre-owned and Sprinter.
And Sprinter.
Just say that, okay.
Yeah, pre-owned and Sprinter.
Now, you may store behind there
I'm gonna store
different
new car
vehicles.
inventory. Because I have a problem with my parking for employees. So now all my cars are on 600, and that's what those cars are in the front, so those people have to be able to park on 600. And then my inventory from 600 Washington is gonna move behind this building. My additional inventory, which is probably another 150 cars or 200 cars. So we're gonna stack it.
Anybody else? You guys are okay?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Anybody else? No. Staff? Good. That's
Thanks,
good?
Rob.
Just to wrap up, thank you.
Yep. That's the wrap.
Just one last question. Are you done?
Okay. I'm sorry it took so long. It's only taken since 2019.
Can I just say, I really like the way you did that, like the slideshow, it's like a flip book.
Oh, yeah, no,
Yeah.
So I have a 5-year-old nephew.
And that's how you're treating us?
No.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be like that. But, no, I figure if he understood what I was trying to get across, then it should be pretty simple.
Well, you kind of pinch hit for senior engineer and partner Tom Daly, but we'll pass along to Tom that you were particularly effective this evening.
You know what? If it gets me any sort of raise, I will take it.
Okay, are we going along?
Okay, everybody good here?
Yeah.
Everything's good.
All right.
Thank you, Mike.
We're moving
Thank
over
you.
to site plan
Okay.
P 23-13. Site plan application of Maple Avenue Repair Service LLC. Applicant, Tri-Lot 7 Enterprises LLC. Owner relative to 395 State Street. Map 26, Lot 46. Plan entitled Sidewalk and Parking Lot Improvements. 395 State Street, North Haven, Connecticut, dated June 8, 2023, scale 1 inch equals 20 feet, IL 30 zoning district.
So again, I'm sorry, we're gonna take two applications
We're gonna take,
together.
I don't have it here.
The cam.
We got, we're gonna take the, what we got, the cam on here, Al?
Yes.
You have the cam with the site plan.
Oh, I'm
Okay.
sorry,
Yeah.
it's to be taken with P 23-13A.
Yep, we can't run up to the
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
Okay, good evening. My name is Tim Griffin. I'm a civil engineer with Lobero Engineering Associates.
Can you spell your last name?
Yes, sir. Griffing.
Thank you.
Yep. Our office address is 100 Northwest Drive in Plainville. And here tonight on behalf of Maple Avenue Repair Service LLC for our site improvements at 395 State Street. So this is the existing site on Route 5, again, 395 State Street. Prior to this meeting, we had a pre-application meeting with the town, and we did do the site plan application of the flood hazard in the CAM, just due to the 500-year floodplain being on the property, but not inside the work area.
Tim, where's State Street on that drawing?
Right here.
Thank you.
Yep. So we are in the IL-30 Light Industrial Zoning District. The total parcel is 2 acres, and our work area is going to be the western portion of the property in here, as well as some work within DOT right-of-way, which we are currently in process with DOT, going through the encroachment permit process with them to get their approval of anything within the right-of-way. Just a quick overview of existing conditions. So the majority of the site is an existing paved parking lot. There is also a existing building, and then all the way down here at the south end of the property, there's a little bit of gravel and a little grass strip near the abutting properties. This is just our notes and legend page. I'll skip over that, as well as the demolition plan. This is just indicating the preparation work that needs to be conducted in order to facilitate the new improvements. So moving on to the site plan. So this is showing the proposed work. So the main intent of the project is to increase the zoning compliance with both the parking and the removal of storage within the front setback, as well as the request to provide a public sidewalk along the frontage of the property. So as I mentioned before, we're currently in the process of DOT encroachment permit for anything within the right-of-way. So I will focus on the on-site items, unless you guys would like some more information on anything in the right-of-way. So as I mentioned, we are going to be adding some new parking. Now this parking is going to be installed within areas of existing asphalt. We're just going to be reconfiguring, restriping, adding some new landscape islands, as well as adding a 15-foot landscape buffer along the front setback. And the 75-foot...
The North Haven Library will be closing in 5 minutes. Please bring all items to checkout at this time. Thank you.
The 75-foot front yard setback is indicated by this dash line right here, which pretty much is also the way it was planned out to be the extent of the new parking stalls. So what that does is that provides a visual barrier, a physical barrier in the field that separates the parking area within the 75-foot setback, and then the designated allowable storage, which is outside the 75-foot setback. And we're providing a total of 29 new striped parking spaces. So we have most of them right here. We have 27 of them in the area right here, as well as 2 van accessible reserve spaces adjacent to the building. In order to facilitate accessibility, we have a new sidewalk directly against the building, which is flush with those reserved parking spaces, as well as all the appropriate signage and pavement markings to facilitate ADA compliance. As I mentioned, we do have a 15-foot landscape buffer along the frontage of the property to screen the parking lot from the roadway. And as I mentioned before, the designated storage area for the vehicles and equipment will be in this area here, outside the 75-foot setback. And in terms of impervious areas, as I mentioned, most of the work is occurring within areas of existing impervious cover. However, we are doing a little bit of shifting where we're, as I mentioned, adding in some new landscape islands. We're converting some former pavement to gravel or crushed stone, converting some pavement to grass, and then in some areas, just to facilitate the parking layout, we are expanding the pavement into former grass. So that whole balance together, when you do the net increase compared to the net decrease, overall we are reducing impervious, and that's on site. So on site within the private property, we're reducing impervious by just over 2,100 square feet. And in addition, within the DOT right-of-way, we're actually reducing impervious a lot out there as well by converting a lot of the former pavement that's basically between the fence, which is the right-of-way line, and the street. We're going to be removing all that pavement and converting that back to grass as well. So that's kind of beneficial from the drainage standpoint. And in terms of grading and drainage, for the most part, we're maintaining existing drainage patterns. The existing paved area that we're going to be repaving, restriping, is going to be pretty much regraded to match close to existing grades. We're going to be tying into existing grades within the confines of the property. The pavement itself, we have reasonable slopes on the parking lot, about 4%. And then the ADA parking, we have 2% max as required in all directions, 2% max cross pitch on the sidewalks, etc. And then just from a drainage perspective, so as I mentioned, we're reducing impervious. So from a stormwater management standpoint, a peak flow standpoint, things of that nature, there's really no mitigation that we've implemented in terms of storage. We're maintaining existing drainage patterns. We're maintaining existing points of capture, points of runoff, etc. So the majority of the existing pavement is just going to be graded to sheet flow across the property as it does today. And the main nuance for drainage is along the building up in this northwest portion of the property. So what we're doing to prevent the drainage from the roadway, well, we're gonna have a curb along the road, of course, but after the back of the sidewalk, the grade's gonna pitch towards the building. So in order to prevent drainage problems, we're gonna implement a swale. So basically, we're creating a low point between the building and between the toe of the slope, where the grade comes down from the street. And that swale is gonna have about a 1 to 2%, running pitch minimum. It's about gonna be 1 foot deep, so it's nothing substantial. It's just enough to catch the runoff, the sheet flows coming across the property. And it's gonna be a nice river rock swale, so adding some decoration to the site. That'll all be landscaped as well. And just as a kind of a fail-safe measure, at the end of the swale, we're incorporating a drywall structure. So there's no on-site catch basins, there's no on-site drainage system to tie into. So, and we don't want to create any new outfalls, so we're just going to install a drywall. And as a fail-safe to that, if the drywall were to become full and no longer was able to infiltrate water, there's a break in the curb right here, which at that point, that break in the curb, the pavement elevation is flush with the curb, and that pavement elevation is lower than the surrounding sidewalks, the surrounding building grade, pretty much everything around it. So at that point, the water would just continue to bubble up out of the swale, and it would then enter the parking lot, and then again, sheet flow to where it does today. So if anything, we're providing a little bit of infiltration, groundwater recharge, and then once that is filled to capacity in a larger storm, then it just does what it does today. So that's pretty much the grading and drainage. And then all I really have, again, I can go through in more detail in these plans if you would like, but based on our standard E&S controls on the site. So we're gonna have silt fence perimeter controls, we have silt secondary protection, we have a construction entrance, a crushed stone anti-tracking pad to prevent sediment tracking onto the roadway, things of that nature. And then we just have our standard, I should get to landscaping as well, I apologize. So this is the landscaping I mentioned earlier. So this is within the 15-foot landscape buffer along the frontage of the property. We're going to be putting in evergreens, blue spruce trees all along there. We also have 6 deciduous trees proposed on the site. So this is kind of going into the intent of providing a tree at the end of each bank of parking at each end. This one tree here, in lieu of putting it right next to the end of the parking stall, just due to the proximity of the building, the proximity of the sidewalk and the swale, we elected to put that tree up here, but we still did provide 6 trees to kind of follow the intent of the 6 end of the parking locations. And then just throughout, we just have various shrubs, flowers, things of that nature, just to kind of beautify the site. And as I mentioned, river rock, so river rock for the swale, river rock along the perimeter fence in the front. And then this whole area in here between the fence and the building will become lawn. And as I mentioned, the public right-of-way, which is currently being, is currently paved and it's kind of illegally being used for parking at times, will also be converted to lawn too. And the owner's very, proud of their buildings. They take care of things, so they plan to, they're going to be fertilizing, spraying the shrubs. They're going to be taking really good care of this for industrial property. So that's kind of their intent, is to really beautify it and make it improve what's there today. And these are just our standard construction details for all the site features and things that. So if you guys have any questions?
Tim, on that drawing right there, where those trees are, could you point out Skiff Street there?
Skiff Street? Yes, so Skiff Street is up here.
So you're going to be blocking the view of your property with those trees coming down Skiff Street then?
Yes, sir. Yeah,
Okay.
these are going to be the blue spruce, these teal colored ones here. Yep.
Well, I have a question, follow-up to that.
Sure.
We're gonna be blocking the view. How large are those spruce trees at the time of planting?
So I would need to check, I'm not the landscape architect, to be honest with you, but I could check on the specification. I know that there are different varieties of blue spruce, and our landscape architect is the one who selected these varieties, so he selected species that are appropriate for that area. In terms of the size when they're going in the ground, I'd have to get back to you on that one.
We have a situation with a dumpster up on Washington Avenue that some folks had issue with the trees were about yay tall. So,
I could check, there might be a plant list on the note sheet.
well, if the commission would just like to stipulate,
Right,
I mean,
yeah.
that's, I'm sure that would be fun.
Okay.
We certainly do.
Yeah.
We certainly do. We didn't get the nuts on
There-
it. Andy, are you?
There has to be genuine coverage, is what it comes, we've gotten told there were trees going in before, and we get, that's
Right,
now
okay.
to
A 10-foot
trees the
gap.
size of coffee cups, which doesn't do anything for 20 years.
Understood, no, understood.
So we
Andy,
wanna see real trees.
Yeah,
Are you good
absolutely.
with that drainage explanation there?
Yeah, I mean, that was actually one of the purposes of the project from the very start. They're having a problem with drainage coming off of State Street and down Skiff Street, basically breaching their driveway and coming all the way through their lot.
Right.
So that was one of the main motivations of the project, so, yeah, I have no problems with what they put together.
The River Rock drain, that.
Yeah, no, I think
will
that's
work
that's a
good?
good way for them to manage
It
that
is,
water that
okay.
comes onto the site from.
I know,
the river.
well, I looked at that and I wasn't sure how it went down and then come back up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, whatever it does, it's going to be less than it is today. That's what it's doing today. It's basically following the same path as, except it's not in the formal swale right now.
Yeah,
you know?
okay.
So it all ends up in the parking lot anyway. This
Well, it does,
provides some
exactly,
means.
it's exactly right, just
Yeah.
another way to get there.
Right, this provides some means for infiltration through the swale as it comes down the slope and also into the dry well as well. So it'll be less water than is there today.
All right, good.
Now, the parking in the area, front area there that you're gonna add, that's just for operational vehicles, right? You're not
So-
gonna
so-
tow anything in and leave it out?
Correct, so
spot.
that's the intent, because currently things are being stored here, so the intent
That'll
is
be in
that-
this back storage area.
Right, so these would be employees, visitors, vendors, whoever's coming in a regular passenger vehicle. And then this would be, the storage would be beyond that 75-foot buffer. So, like I said, the nice thing is that there's a good visual guide to indicate the setback, because it's literally the edge of the parking. So we have this little 3-foot stripe zone as well, that kind of transitions the head of the parking stalls to the drive aisle / storage space. So that's the real delineator of that. But that's correct, that's gonna be for passenger vehicles, parking, coming and going daily.
So this is just a poster child evening for the difference between parking and outdoor storage of
Right.
automobiles.
We wanna go right now.
Okay? You have two applications that
Right.
are dealing with that, and
How are
it
you,
seems good.
Okay.
Is the storage, because your comments say it, is the storage specifically delineated? Say, this is the only area of storage, is that on these plans?
I'd like to see it
No, we gotta
delineated.
do
It must be clearly identified on the drawings.
I'd like to see it delineated a little bit better.
I
than
don't
what's
see
in
it
place now.
delineated,
Right.
and obviously this is a concern because there's currently stuff stored there. And it says, get it out of there,
Yes, sir.
you know, and this must be removed in its entirety. But you can park in this 75 foot, and that's what they're doing here, right? They're making parking spaces, no problem with that.
Right.
But we want the comment says delineate where the storage is gonna be, so there's no question if our person goes out later on and just so happens there's stuff being stored there with big labels on it and stuff, it gets out of there.
Yeah, no, and we just received those comments Friday,
I
so we
understand.
do intend to implement that into the revised drawings. for
So
sure.
again,
Yeah, it's definitely
if
something
we
good.
approve it with your comments, we wanna see that storage delineated specifically.
I'm gonna add two words to my comment. I'm gonna say clearly delineated after my existing.
Yeah, that's fine.
And can we agree to a size of a tree that we're talking about putting there?
The-
Rather than
the
have it in
deciduous-
the open, you know, if we vote on this today,
Yeah, the deciduous trees need to be 2-inch caliper minimum.
right?
That's my bottom line.
no,
I'm more concerned about the spruces that are
Right.
there.
No, I get it, but how tall, 2-inch deciduous means nothing to me, how tall are they?
So it's probably be about, I'd say 5-6 feet, a 2-inch caliper.
It'll vary, but I think,
I'd
yeah.
be okay with 5 feet, to be honest with you, I just don't want a dwarf tree.
But I think the evergreens, the spruces, you'd probably be looking minimum 7 to 8 feet.
Which is great,
You know,
I just
so
want
that-
to,
Can
I
they
just
plant
want the
7,
minimum.
8 feet
That's the
spruces?
Too many of us
Okay.
talking.
that's what they put on over there on
You go 10 to 12.
I don't know what that is, similar to that.
So minimum of 6 feet. So if we said a minimum of 6 feet, is that something that's been planted or 8 feet? Okay, I just wanna make sure we're not gonna have something that's not going to
And let me
work.
go back to something here.
Alan,
This-
these numbers are at the time of planting.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, I
wanna make sure.
And let's be clear, the portion of the regulations that indicates that all outdoor storage must be approved by the commission, and they can determine what type of screening
Yeah.
or visual protection they want. So in my estimation, you can
Yeah,
set
I
what you
just
like.
wanna make sure that they can be planted and, you know, I don't know the height of it or the size of a tree that could be planted. I haven't taken my arborist degree yet, so I don't know. So 7 or 7.
You can go a range 7 to 8 feet.
Okay,
You could do 10 to 12.
Yeah, okay.
And
That's too much.
we should have a comment here as well that you're requesting a size of all proposed trees, so we could develop a plant list and we can get more clarification. And it does say here additional 2-inch caliper trees, so you are requesting the 2-inch caliper minimum, which we're aware of. So we typically do a 2 to 3-inch caliper, which is referring to the diameter of the trunk. I believe it's at, I don't know if it's at breast height or at a certain height, but that's referring to a trunk diameter.
That would be for the deciduous trees in the
Deciduous,
islands.
right.
The screening trees, we're speaking differently now. We're talking,
Right.
maybe 7 to 8.
Yeah.
Right, those would probably be something like maybe like a 4-inch caliper.
So you
or
would
something.
agree to 7 to 8 feet if we made that part of it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's something good.
Okay.
Now, beyond that parking, where you're gonna have the outside storage, there's a fence there?
Yeah, so there's an
And-
existing
Right,
chain link fence,
Okay,
the entire frontage of the property.
yeah,
And at this point, the existing driveway, there's an existing slide gate. And then the fence, it comes up here as well. And then it returns back to the building here. So what we're proposing is, because right now, it's a little bit odd where it's almost like bisecting the front of the property where, the fence comes up, it returns to the building, it kind of closes off this part of the property. As well, with our new drainage swale, we're regrading that to have a nice flow down. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna pick up the fence at the existing post here, remove this portion, and we're gonna continue the fence to the frontage and return back to the building corner to kind of completely encompass their front yard.
I'm thinking back further,
Yeah.
behind,
here?
that would be east of the parking spots you're putting in?
Oh, down here?
Yeah, no, east, it's right
Yeah.
where your elbow
To
is.
your right.
All the way.
So,
all the way
yeah,
back here.
so, but I was thinking, well, east of that the parking spots you're putting in,
Right.
is there gonna be any type of separator from the outside storage? And what screening is gonna be on that?
Let me answer
If
one
there is.
question. How are you gonna separate
Right.
the outside storage from the parking area?
So that's gonna
That's
be,
where I wanna get to if I can.
sure,
The
sure.
75-foot setback, you need to pay attention to.
Yes,
We're
absolutely.
gonna look at that. I just wanna know how you're gonna do that.
Yeah, so to answer the first question, there's no physical barrier, like a fence or anything to that effect. We do have just like I said, the painted island, just to kind of give a little bit of fluff between the cars and the traveling vehicles, or the stored vehicles. So the second question is, it's basically gonna be operation by the owner of the facilities, right? So once they have a parking lot that has these striped parking stalls, they have so right now what happens is even when I went to visit the site, to do a site visit, for example, you kind of pull in and you basically park wherever you can amongst the parked vehicles, the stored vehicles, the trucks, whatever. So they're gonna know, number one, all of their employees, all their visitors are gonna be parking up using the space.
Okay?
And also, they're gonna know that they're not allowed to put any storage inside that space. So it's really just gonna be, the function of the site and them controlling it, them having control of what their drivers and their employees are doing, and they're gonna be told not to put anything there. And the employees parking there
Yeah,
are also gonna take up that room, so that's gonna.
Well, my concern, and this may not happen, but 11 o'clock at night, everything's closed up, the wrecker goes out and gets a 18-wheeler, brings it back in there, opens it up, brings it in and parks it in the first available spot.
So
Fair
are
enough.
we
So
gonna,
it's
maybe
gonna
we're
have
thinking
control.
we want some delineation?
That's-
We want something there.
that's what I'm
to
thinking.
delineate.
Gotta have
So
something.
whether it's some sort of taller curbing, something to delineate that 75 feet.
Some sort of barrier or
Okay,
Yeah.
or even maybe like a 2-foot wide grass island or river rock island or
No
something.
grass,
or-
no,
so
because
like stone?
that will disappear.
Yeah, okay.
We want something a little more
Sure.
substantial, yeah, I think
Okay.
that's what we're.
Right, that's what I'm
You gotta
thinking,
have
because
something- gotta have
you're not gonna be able to
something
control it in the late hours. They're 3
Yeah.
o'clock in the morning bringing in a wreck off the highway.
Yeah,
And
so-
they're gonna back in, there's not gonna be any room in the back, and they're gonna dump it and
So
Staff?
the only
Wherever it could go.
thing I could say to that comment is, from my understanding, what the owner told me is that they have basically their employees on a rotating shift. So at all times, 24/7, they have their employees, there's shifts coming in and parking here. So,
Okay.
you know, whatever time it may be, 10 people come in, 10 people leave. So there's always gonna be a circulating shift of employees that are using that lot. It's never gonna be empty, or it's never gonna be a situation where, 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock the next morning, it's empty. There's always people on staff 24/7, kind of like, almost like a fire station. They're constantly waiting for calls, manning the vehicles, working on the vehicles, whatever may be
Yeah,
needed.
that's good. The difficulty is we just don't want stuff stored
Right.
over there and there people decide to park over there.
So staff,
Sure,
do you
yeah.
have any suggestion as far as the delineation?
Well, I have another question. I like the idea of whatever that is, a 3-foot wide crosshatch, because I think that's something that Laura Matarasi can see very
Yeah.
clearly.
Okay.
It's gotta be beyond that. You can see it from the street. So I think that's a good thing.
Okay.
I would also note that the new dumpster pad is actually on that southern side. And I've got to believe if that's going to get emptied, it's going to have to stay clear in front of that. So I see the whole pathway in as being clear up to that dumpster. And it's kind of more clearly illustrated on sheet C3, the site layout plan. It seems to me they're gonna have to keep things back away from there, but I am interested to see the clear delineation.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if you look at that hatched area, I think they're gonna have to keep that clear.
Absolutely. And when you say the delineation, it's more like typically for snow storage, right? You just kind of put a perimeter, a dash line around an area, and you kind of say this is the defined area. That's kind of what you're looking for?
Yes, it is. And yeah, a dashed line that's marked on your
Right, called out
plan.
as, yep.
And then Laura can take that and it's pretty clear
Sure.
down the road, but.
Absolutely, yeah.
That is, if the blue spruces don't grow so much that they totally obstruct their view from the street, which would be wonderful.
I wanted to say something about the blue spruce too. My memory of the application we found difficult before, one of my problems was that the drawing represented something, these big trees with a small space in between them, and what we saw were the opposite. These tiny little things with big space. So I think the idea is that the drawing represent what actually goes out there.
Absolutely. So the, as I mentioned too, I mean, they do intend to take very good care of things. I've never personally seen a commercial client of this nature who actually wants to spray their trees every year and fertilize their, I mean, I've never frankly seen that. So they do intend to definitely keep it looking nice for their own benefit, not just for the public. But so the quantity of the trees, as you see, is the true quantity of the plants that are gonna be provided. So if you see, he has 8 here, so there's 8 on the plan, there's gonna be 8 in the field. And we can get a better answer on the diameter of those and the height as well.
So
Don't you think?
you're not gonna see the diameter on the plan, it's not gonna be the planted diameter. So if you get a foot a year out of a spruce tree, you get it vertically and you get it horizontally. So it's gotta be planted a little bit short.
Right.
One of the things we've done in the past is stagger the trees.
You gotta stagger, you gotta stagger
Yeah.
one behind the
Like
other,
the
so you
double
got a
row.
full coverage across that berm right there.
Sure.
That will take care of that
Any-
part, and Alan, the stripes in there, that'll take care of that. And
Well-
that's the biggest part in the drainage.
While we're on the judgment of the commission, could you help me out a little bit? The tree that Tim indicated is intended to be the tree at the other end of the row of 2 parking spaces, the handicap spaces, was so far away that I called for another tree. It's up to you. I don't want to, make him redesign everything that's there because he's shown determination of that rock swale.
Right, and that's
in there.
kind of
But
dependent on the grade, so make sure that when it overflows, it's low enough, so it's low enough in the driveway to overflow at elevation that's appropriate to not flood the sidewalk. So if you push that further up the drive, that pushes the elevation up, and The reason we can't just regrade the driveway is because we did a vertical clearance analysis for lowboy trailers. So tractor trailers come in with a lowboy, and that basically has a 5-inch ground clearance. So we had to do an analysis for, you're coming off the road, you have a 1.5-inch lip, it comes down a hill, the thing articulates a certain way. So this grading in here is pretty, pretty sensitive. So we can certainly relocate the tree, but to your point, the drainage components would be difficult to.
The regulations require an island at the end of that row of parking containing a 2-inch caliper tree. So if the commission's okay with even sliding that tree or adding another tree closer to the rock swale, maybe that would kind of be an appropriate gesture.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
If that's all right with the commission.
Okay.
Well, it's a big improvement on the property.
Yeah.
Are we all comfortable with what you think we're recommending, Alan?
Yeah, well, we
I
talked a little bit.
I've got some notes.
We talked a little bit about the staggering of the trees,
Yeah.
like Mike did
Well,
on his property there.
I don't
like
see it
that.
has the room for it
I
there.
think the intent is that from day one, there's gonna be a screen there.
Right, we're not
In
gonna
other words,
put
the
no
trees will
saplings
be,
there.
From day
yeah,
one.
the trees will be planted at such a height and with such a stagger that from day one, you already have a screen. Now, as they grow more, that's gonna be even more improved, but I don't think we're gonna be in a situation where you've got 3 feet between trees, and that's not the
Right.
purpose. The purpose is to provide that screen, so.
You know, and you're not gonna get that. You're not gonna get that at this point.
With 8 trees.
You know, you've got 8 spruce trees over about 120 feet. You're, well, 105 or so. You know, you're not really gonna make that.
Right.
So, you know, if it's nice, they're gonna be 12 feet apart if you look at it from that point of view.
No.
If you go to more of a staggered configuration or just add more trees
You
in
just gotta add,
staggered.
you gotta double
you're
the
gonna-
trees in it. I just talked to you about this.
Yeah.
Staggered, okay, good enough.
Yeah, if you
So
stagger,
basically, at the time of planting, you want a reasonable screen. You don't want, in 20 years it's gonna be a screen. You want it to be a
well,
screen.
the screening is
Right
much
now.
better with the staggering
Right, yeah.
from the street, so.
Understood. Yep. No, that's not a problem. We can definitely incorporate that.
I don't know how you spell this one.
Well, he's gotta give it
He's
to.
got it, yeah.
you gotta give
So,
it to
so
us.
pretty much
Yeah.
so we're okay with the stripe hatching between the storage and the parking, right? And
It makes it
the
better.
relocation of the tree, that's a comment. We'll wait and we'll certainly implement that, however you guys want to do that. And so right now, the biggest ask of us right now is the screening, making sure that's adequate and giving you more information on the sizing of those trees, correct? That's pretty much the main thing.
I think.
That's the,
Yeah, no, fair enough, that's something we can do.
Last issue I wanted to bring up, along the back of the property, I'd like to see a fence or some sort of limitation. In other words, to keep storage from migrating onto the property next door. And we see this on, commercial and industrial sites all the time.
Sure.
Over time, things just kind of work their way out. If we can show some sort of delineation along that back property line, that won't be an issue.
By the back, you mean the east side, that whole? Yeah.
Correct, up against the wetlands and.
The back here, right?
Yep, correct.
And when you say that, do you anticipate like a fence or just any kind of, I guess,
I mean, I think a fence would be ideal. It's just something that would prevent,
I would think-
during normal operations, that would prevent people.
I would think you would
kind of
want a
creeping
fence
back,
there.
Yeah.
That's true.
I would think so.
Other reasons.
Due to the nature of what they do, I think they need a compound, so to speak.
Yeah.
Tim, I guess what we're all saying is you've read Alan's comments
Yeah,
and you've read Andy's comments.
Yes.
Are you good with all the comments?
We are.
Plus the addendums we made to them tonight.
Yes, we can absolutely implement that, absolutely.
Thank you.
we didn't discuss the dumpster enclosure. You noted some more landscaping for
Yeah,
that.
I
Did you have in
mean,
mind?
the DOT's got a drainage line that runs through that area. I don't know exactly where the easement is. So that comment is more, just be cognizant of where that easement is, where that pipe is, and let's make sure you don't put dumpster on top of the pipe or in a place where the pipe can't be serviced in the future if the DOT needs to get in there. That's all. And I think you got room to do that. It's just, just pay attention to that pipe, that's all.
Well, thank you. Yeah, we'll do some more research and make sure that
Yes,
that's
if
here.
the dumper's gotta bump out, you know, from the property line a little bit, so be it. I mean, I think you got the space to do it, so I don't think it really is gonna matter.
Right, yeah, sure, absolutely.
Good enough. You all set, Andy?
Yes, I am.
Alan?
Good.
Brian?
Fine.
Paul?
Good.
That's it, you can wrap it up.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Okay. That takes care of this.
We've got one more site plan application. C-23-14, site plan application of 299 Washington Ventures LLC. Applicant Donna Genco Parisi and Emilio Parisi, owners, relative to 289 and 299 Washington Avenue, map 80, lots 5 and 6, plan entitled AF Ford's Proposed Filling Station, number 289 and 299 Washington Avenue, North Haven, Connecticut, 06473. Prepared by CMG Engineering Services, dated 3/10/23, scale 1 inch equals 30 feet, IL 30 zoning district.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. I'm Attorney Marjorie Shansky, and I represent 299 Washington Ventures LLC.
Need the mic there, miss?
Thank you. I didn't project. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. My name is Marjorie Shansky, Attorney Marjorie Shansky. I represent 299 Washington Ventures LLC. I'm here this evening with Mr. Jim Bernardino, professional engineer from CMG Engineering Services, Jeff Bandini, another professional engineer who is our traffic engineer responsible for the traffic study, Ashley Cody, the architect who is in charge of the floor plans and elevations from Millennium Design Associates, MDA, is also in the room. We don't know to what extent that's of interest to the commission, but she's here in the event you have questions. Also in the room is Mr. Tom Hennessy, who's a principal with 299 Washington Ventures LLC, and Attorney John Parisi, who represents the interests of the property owner. Thank you and good evening.
Hello.
I will say before I hand this over to Mr. Bernardino immediately, that we visited the North Haven Zoning Board of Appeals on June 15th. The board approved a certificate of approval of location pursuant to 14-321 of the Connecticut General Statutes for this fueling facility, which also includes a convenience store, and Mr. Bernardino will explain that to you in detail. And if you have any questions, I'm here as well.
Hopefully everyone can hear me. Thank you. For the record, Jim Bernardino with CMG Engineering, the civil site engineers for the project. Thank you, Marjorie. We're looking at an existing site, 289, 299 Washington Ave. It's approximately just slightly over 4 acres. Presently, the site is vacant. In the back left corner of the property, there's some encroachment from the neighbor. They put a accessory shed and some fencing on the property. That'll be removed as part of this development, so there'll be everything is going to be consistent with the rules and regulations of your town. The project is in the IL 30 zone, light industrial zone, so the proposed convenience store, quick service use, restaurant use is allowed by right. So what we've developed is an approximately 6,000 square foot convenience store building, which will be split up. Approximately 4,700 square feet of that will be dedicated to the convenience store use. Approximately 1,300 square feet will be dedicated to some sort of quick serve restaurant. There's no definitive tenant yet, but that quick serve restaurant will have or will be afforded a drive-through component associated with the overall development. I'll get into site circulation in a moment. Also, part of the overall development is just over about 1,000 square foot. We're gonna have an outdoor patio area associated with the development. That's kind of typical of the new modern day convenience stores that everybody sees going up now. So we're looking at providing those types of amenities to just further expand our reach for potential customers. As part of the development, we obviously have a major component, which is the gas station part of it. We're looking at what we call multi-product dispensers, no longer calling them gas pumps, call them MPDs, multi-product dispensers, more than one. We're gonna have regular and premium, and then obviously super for the front of the project, which are gonna be geared towards the normal passenger vehicles. We also are looking at a diesel facility along it's actually the western portion of the site. We're looking at 3 high-speed diesel positions, which are going to cater to larger vehicles, such as tractor-trailer trucks and the like. Obviously, we are located just a little bit north of the interchange of Route 91, so our goal is to draw from that interchange those trucking vehicles so that they can have a spot to not only access, get fuel. We also proposing some parking spaces for them in the back of the property as well. The project's not intended to be a truck stop. It's not going to be overnight parking and idling. We're only providing 10 spaces for those truckers. It's more of get a rest, come sit, have a cup of coffee or a sandwich, and then get onto the road. Then get back onto the road. As I mentioned, it's a 4-acre parcel, and we have 2 means of access to the property. We have a full driveway entrance on the northern side, which is going to be a unrestricted movement coming in. And then we have an unrestricted movement coming out, meaning right turn and left turns in and out are allowed at that area. There's going to be a minor roadway turn lane adjustment along Washington Ave. As you recall, there's a lot of opposing left turn lanes in the center lane, so there's just some minor adjustments with that. Our traffic consultant, Jeff, this evening will touch base on that, go over a little bit more detail. And the other entrance on the southern side is going to be proposed as an exit only. So as to avoid any conflict with some truck circulation from the larger vehicles that we're going to be expecting on site. Pretty excited that there's a lot of activity going on the site, and very seldom do we have the ability or the area to get everything that we want in such a uniform layout. With our access, we're able to actually distinguish 2 separate areas. One is the truck fueling facility in the back. The way we've generated site circulation and signage is we're directing all of the larger truck traffic around to the rear of the site, have their own parking and dedicated fueling facility with no interaction of the normal passenger vehicles internal to the site. So all of the larger vehicles will not be in part of the middle of the site, but would circle around the perimeter and exit only out to their Washington Street. Now, that's also going to be applicable to the loading and delivery vehicles for the property. All of the Coca-Cola machines, the Frito-Lays, all those routine deliveries that we have. We're able to provide the room to come out and have a dedicated loading area at the back of the building to park and load into the rear of the building. Internally, once we do, the passengers are able to get into the site and circle on the site. We have approximately 55 total parking spaces dedicated on the site. That includes 10 for the tractor-trailer trucks in the back, as well as 5 EV dedicated stations as well. Everybody's aware that that's becoming new, very important in the building code, so we're making sure that we have the appropriate amenities and infrastructure to support that. We have the appropriate number of dedicated accessible spaces. And as I mentioned previously, we do have a drive-through facility. We do have a drive-through facility that has approximately 11 cars queuing to this area, which is, typically average for these types of uses. But obviously, any other queuing beyond that would stay on our site, wouldn't conflict with any traffic concerns.
I have one question. Loading the fuel tanks.
Fuel tanks.
The tanker's going to come in, and
Yes.
where would it actually drop
Okay,
drop
so-
that, because that usually screws up the
And
The
as I
parking
mentioned, I was
spot.
very excited because I'm used to getting all this stuff in 2 acres, and I have 4.
Okay.
So what we've done is we actually have 2 loading areas. We will have the tanker truck, which is generally a tractor trailer, WB50. Our site can handle up to a WB62 or even larger around the perimeter of the site. We have a 20,000 gallon diesel tank at this area. So we run truck turn analysis, so we can have our delivery vehicles come in, park in this space right here, and offload for the diesel. That allows enough room for even tractor trailer trucks to bypass and come into here. So there'll be no conflict with even tractor trailer trucks. Likewise, we are going to be having 2 20,000 gallon storage tanks for the 10 multi-product dispensers in the front. We're gonna have 20,000 gallons of regular unleaded, and then the other 20,000 gallon tank is going to be split between premium unleaded and regular unleaded. And that has its own separate pull-off to unload, which allows tractor trailer trucks again to bypass without any conflict.
Okay.
Just 1 second, just one question, very quickly, I wasn't gonna get into this now, but all the diesel is gonna be dispensed from the rear of the building, is that correct?
That's correct.
No diesel in the front?
No diesel
Okay,
in the front,
those-
correct.
The front dispensers,
So the front dispensers are gonna be gasoline only,
Okay,
regular,
good enough.
medium, and premium.
thank you. Yep.
So that's the intent right now. So as I mentioned, we're talking about the drive-through, so we have queuing for the drive-through, and we also have an independent bypass lane. So if anybody pulls into the lane, decides they don't have their wallet, or for whatever reasons they want to get out, they can bypass the entire property. So that, in a nutshell, is the site circulation. We've also provided a dumpster enclosure in the rear of the property. So our dumpsters do the same type of moving around the site, access and come back out without conflict of any type of passenger or even tractor trailer truck conflicts. To support this project, we've incorporated a very comprehensive drainage collection, treatment, and infiltration system. We've done soil testing out there, there's great sands, so basically we are taking all the water that's generated from the site and putting it all back into the ground. Because presently we have a dead flat site that has great sands, so there's virtually no runoff already. So nothing from nothing leaves you nothing. And so what we're looking to do is collect, treat, and infiltrate 100% of the stormwater runoff. We do have an emergency overflow connected to the DOT system, but we're designing that to have 0 flow. If DOT lets us have that, that's great for a backup, but if not, we may have to remove that, but that'll be part of the DOT review itself. We've also have all public utilities, water, gas, electric. We developed a comprehensive landscaping plan as far as trees and parking lot trees and that nature. We have quite a bit all the way through compliant with the zoning regulations. I believe staff recommended 1 additional tree during their comments, which we take no exception to. We've also developed a lighting plan. There's a minor comment regarding the lighting. I'll follow up with Alan on that in future revisions to the plan. And also, we've received comments from the various staff and different departments. Police department did not have any comments or concerns at this moment. Fire requested that we provide a hydrant in the front of the property. Right now, there's no hydrants for a decent period, decent segment along Washington Street. We'll get that incorporated as part of the project. We also have comments from planning staff as well. There's a handful of things that we could work with staff on. I don't think we're gonna take any exceptions to addressing those comments. One comment that I just wanna bring up, maybe not right now, but this evening, talk about was a comment regarding adding a note for no outdoor storage. The intent of the applicant is not to have outdoor storage, but as we have designed this to have a very free-flowing and spacious development, and we've done a 10-foot sidewalk along the front. So typical with our convenience store uses, they may want some seasonal outdoor displays in that sidewalk area, whether it's firewood or maybe they have a sale on windshield washer fluids or something to that effect along the front. We could definitely delineate that area in the plan. And
That's,
have that.
I'm sorry, that's not outdoor storage.
Right.
That's a
Yeah.
display of retail product, and you're allowed to do that within the regulations,
Right.
within the front 6 feet directly in front of the building.
That's, I just wanted to bring that because I just don't want to commit to no outdoor storage without that understanding. So we talked about that, we can put that to bed.
Now, is that right where you're talking about having a restaurant in right there, is that it?
Yeah, the restaurant part will be over here. We did have a preliminary floor plan, so the majority of the building, from the right side will be convenience store. And then the restaurant portion will have some indoor seating, walk-up counter, and then we'll also have some outdoor seating within the outdoor patio as well. So
You're talking more like a, I don't know, like a little cafe kind of thing?
it could be a cafe, it could be a sub shop,
Right,
or
okay.
it's very, or a coffee shop or
Right.
something to that effect. And we
You don't
could-
have a tenant for that yet.
And there's no tenant for that right now, but we do have dedicated space. These types of amenities are very desirable with these types of developments. Even more desirable now that we're getting required for EV stations, because no one wants to go plug in their EV car, run in, grab a Diet Coke, and leave. They want to sit and have a cup of coffee. So we're going to provide those services and amenities. Lastly, this is going to be a good segue over to traffic. We have submitted all of our plans and studies and reports to the DOT, so their initial review is underway. We fully intend to work with them very closely to, develop the plan, to their satisfaction. Obviously, we couldn't start that process until we actually submitted to this board this evening, but that's underway. So as that process moves forward, myself as well as Jeff from McMahon Associates, our traffic consultant who's here this evening, will work with them very closely to address any concerns they have. So with that, if there's no immediate additional questions from the commission, I will turn it over to Jeff from McMahon.
Before you go.
Yeah.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, go ahead,
I
Jay.
have a couple questions. So, just so I understand your map here, that fronts the gas pumps, whatever you call them now.
Yeah.
Then the building is a convenience store with the restaurant being to the left side of that.
Yes.
So, and you've got a menu board shown here. When you say there's 11 spaces to be queued, from where?
There's 11 spaces from the pickup window.
So the pickup window all the way back, you're saying all the way around the building?
Correct, all the way around to the building, before it becomes any type of conflict with parking or internal circulation.
Huh? So that's, and this is.
And those car lines are general, the normal 10 by 20 boxes that we look at for general stacking requirements.
So, there's not really a restriction on what the restaurant would be, right? I mean, could you get a McDonald's in there? Could you get something? that's that
Very well you
intensive?
could. It would be more of a McDonald's Express. You're not going to have the number of seats and things of that nature. It would be more of an express that would be geared towards an interstate type of use,
Like a Starbucks Express kind of thing too, that they just put in?
Yep, the Starbucks Express is doing that. They just did one in Waterford. There's other
So
sites
you're
that
gonna have
they're-
places for them to sit down inside too.
There's a Dunkin'
Right.
counter in the exit 57 convenience store on I-95 that just comprises that
Yeah.
counter.
But when you normally look at like a full-fledged McDonald's, you're looking around 2,300 square feet versus 13 that we're providing.
Yeah.
So they know it's going to be less of the normal full-service, quick-serve restaurants. It's
Your
more.
point is, if there's a mess, it's within your own site anyway.
Correct, and
Right.
we think from general engineering
mess up Washington.
practices, we're giving them what we need for normal engineering practice.
Okay. And my other question was about the driveways, and you told me it's in and out on the north end.
Yep.
South end is just exit, but you can exit and go both ways on Washington, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Which is a little bit scary to me. I don't
Yeah.
think there's an option there, but Washington gets really crowded.
Right.
And I've got some questions for your traffic person.
Right, he'll be able to go delays and lights and talk about the queue and the waiting and the like.
Yeah, and the traffic movements in and out of the site are gonna be, the DOT is gonna be all over that, so.
Yeah.
They will be.
It's a big deal.
I was concerned.
No, it is, it definitely is, yeah.
Okay. That's all I have.
No, that's all right. That's what I was looking at.
All right.
That portion of it.
Perfect,
You
all
put in
right.
your traffic guy now, I think we're all set.
Perfect, well, thank you very much. It was a
Yep,
good
thank you,
afternoon.
sir. Very well done.
Thank you. I'm just gonna slide over, how about that?
Thanks, Jim. Thank you to the members of the board this evening. For the record, Jeff Bandini, project manager with McMahon. So as Jim referenced, we performed the traffic impact study for the property. Basically, we did it in several different parts. The first thing we wanted to do was understand the existing conditions. So we collected traffic data along the frontage of the site so that we could look at the existing traffic volumes along Washington Avenue. Again, understanding its location relative to the interstate, relative to other commercial developments. So we wanted to make sure that we were addressing the existing conditions properly. We also looked at the existing crash data along the frontage of the property. Didn't find any sort of major safety deficiencies along the frontage of the property. Again, with the site being vacant, again, that's sort of minimized, but we wanted to make sure that we were addressing any sort of additional existing conditions relative to safety. We performed a site field visit inventory to measure the site distance of the proposed driveways. Again, Washington Avenue is, it's a fairly tangent, straight section with very little vertical deflection, so you can see clearly in both directions for both site driveways, which Jim mentioned is of primary importance for primary access to Washington Avenue. And again, what we did was we took those existing conditions and we wanted to measure what the site would look like independent of the proposed project and put together an assortment of background assumptions with relative to proposed improvements and also future developments that would impact the traffic volumes along Washington Avenue. So we were able to incorporate that.
Speaking of that, what is the volume currently? I know it's increased.
It's about 21,000 or so, I want to say. Again, that's for like a full day. So again, when we look at a site of this nature, we want to look at the peak hour of the site coming in and out, because we want to make sure that we're addressing the highest level of traffic during the day. So in piecing together the background information, we want to make sure that we were addressing any concerns relative to the site independent of the proposed project. We're certainly sensitive to the existing fairgrounds driveway that's located across the street. We've been in contact with the town police to make sure that the proposed, the existing setup wouldn't be dramatically impacted by the location of the driveway. So we're certainly willing and able to work with the town to make sure that the access for the fairgrounds is maintained properly. We understand the fairgrounds is a once-a-year thing. However, we've been made aware that there's certainly events that occur there on more of a semi-regular basis, so that we want to make sure that we're not just addressing that for one sort of event. We want to make sure that it's, the ability is flexible to make sure that the access to that driveway is provided. So when we take all the background conditions, we wanted to make sure that we were addressing the future conditions at the site. And Jim kind of went through a lot of the proposed driveway circulations and all that. So basically what we did was we took the convenience store use, and we took the fast food with drive-through use, and we looked at the Institute of Transportation Engineers trip generation manual, which aims to project the amount of traffic that the site will generate based on the number of square footage for both uses. And again, the Institute of Transportation Engineers and Connecticut DOT work together to come up with a sort of solution in terms of the amount of vehicles that would use the site independent of the amount of traffic along Washington Avenue. So basically saying there's existing traffic along Washington Avenue that goes to and from the interstate and travels to other commercial developments fairly regularly, obviously given the existing traffic along the site. This sort of use is directed at pulling some of that existing traffic off of Washington Avenue and directing it towards the primary path of travel. In other words, a vehicle traveling towards the interstate is likely to take a right in and right out of the site. Vehicle coming away from the interstate is likely to turn left in, left out of the site. You don't see a whole lot of travel for this sort of use where this is the primary trip. You don't see people turning right into the site and then retracing their steps. You see a lot of traffic that decides to stop because they need gas on the way to or from work, you want to grab a sandwich, whatever on the way to or from work. So this sort of development is aimed to draw that traffic from the existing use. Therefore, we do still understand that there is a generation component to this, and that's what ITE aims to generate, is outlining that. So what we did was we looked at the existing traffic volumes. We looked at the distribution of where those volumes are going during each of the peak hours. And we projected that trip generation and its directionality and ease of access into both driveways. And we split up the trips entering and exiting, well, I should say exiting the driveway because there's two primary egress points. There's one entrance point, and as Jim mentioned, we put together a redesign of the existing left turn lane along the site frontage to make sure that we had sufficient queuing for that left turn lane to stack in. Obviously, we understand the existing traffic volume. We understand it's 2 lanes in each direction. We want to make sure that there's a left turn pocket here such that the left turns into the site are not interrupting the flow either in the same direction as the site or as in the opposite direction of the site. So we want to be sensitive to that. As Jim mentioned, we had submitted plans to Connecticut DOT to make sure that we're providing that in accordance with their standards. And so looking at the distribution of traffic between both driveways, we looked at the level of service, both coming in and out. We looked at the queuing. We wanted to make sure that we were distributing the traffic in the direction that we thought it would go. Path of least resistance, generally speaking, for something where there's 2 exit points. You know, the queue tends to even out between both. We understand we have a one-way circulating driveway for the drive-through. You know, we think the south entrance will see primary exiting traffic. There is an option for exiting traffic at the north side driveway as well. Both driveways are projected to operate at level of service D on an A to F scale. So basically, you know, during the highest peak hour of the day, we expect that the vehicles will have a, you know, somewhere in the 30 to 35 second delay exiting the site. Again, that volume can be metered by the traffic coming from both directions. And again, serving the path of least resistance. If this is the easier driveway to use to exit, that's the one you're probably going to use. So we understand that, you know, convenience store, drive-through, fueling station, we are going to generate some traffic, but, you know, given the composition of the roadway, you know, we think that this is a favorable design, and certainly Connecticut DOT will certainly provide their commentary, and we're, you know, prepared to address those. And I think overall, this sort of site, this sort of development certainly fits the composition of the study area. We think it's a good site to be located primarily near the interstate and given the existing volume. Be happy to take any questions.
Very well.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, seeing that you can't fix stupid, as they say, is there a plan to keep the exit only less desirable to enter? Because
See people coming in
Right.
and be
Well,
out.
It looks like you could come in, enter it from headed south.
Is there a design to make it less desirable for someone to want to enter that way?
Yeah, the reason behind that is so that we propose a left turn lane to go into this north side driveway here. Right now, there's a left turn lane to service the property on the east side here. So we are not proposing any sort of ability for a left turn.
But on
the
the property itself, outside of signage that says do not enter that, everyone just drives through anyway. Is there a way to minimize the attempt
turn.
to try and turn into that exit?
Just
I don't know if I'm
put
explaining
a
this.
chop right in the middle there, so
Yeah,
they can't enter it, is what he's talking about. I don't think DOT will let you do it anyway.
No, and what we've done is, you know, obviously, if you put a little pork chop or something like
Yeah,
that
pork chop
within
in front of
the middle lane,
Right.
DOT
Is that what you
would
want?
you know,
Well, not so much that, I understand that wouldn't work, the pork choppers are calling it, but I don't know if there is a way to do it, because there's other places in town here and other towns where it's definitely defined, do not enter, and the
It's
cars are
being
just constantly
ignored.
driving through it anyways. And I see a bigger problem when the trucks are coming out, because all of a sudden now
there is a conflict there, and we did consider some other alternatives, you know, narrower driveways, angling it, making a right turn only out, but unfortunately with the restrictions that those impose, you know,
Yeah, I
narrow
think that would
areas,
work, yeah.
we have big trucks that we're trying to cater to, so
Okay.
unfortunately, we do need that wider driveway. We have provided the access, the signage and the striping for do not enters. I fully expect DOT will come back with some comments, and one of those, you know, rumble strip medians may be a potential solution or mitigation measure that DOT may want, and obviously.
Tire shredders are out of the question.
We can always taste it.
Yeah. If that
They'll be
driveway-
selling them up the street.
If that driveway turned into a right only, then you could slant that driveway in such a way that people couldn't pull in, you know? And that may be.
We still have a 70-foot long truck that we're trying to.
Yeah, no, I understand.
So.
And again, same thing, I understand exactly what you're trying to do. I was just wondering
Yeah.
if there was something we could look at to
And-
help
And
minimize
that's
it.
commonly what they do, you know, but it's on a restricted, you know, only one direction. Because if you're opening up to both directions, there's really not much you can do to neck that down or change that alignment. But the DOT may look at that and say, we're not gonna let you take a left
The
turn.
one at BJ's across from Executive, that you're only supposed to take from this way,
Right.
but they
Exactly.
take the
That's-
left. and-
That's the
And-
same
and-
thing, right?
and
But if you're gonna come out both directions, you really
Right.
can't do that.
I'm
So
saying,
that's
they
the
already
issue.
have that turn and they still.
Yeah,
Right,
and,
right, right.
and we were trying not to limit that to a right turn only as well, because
No, I agree.
of all the tractor trailer trucks that are gonna go down and try to find a spot to turn around and go back again. We thought that would be more cumbersome and
Okay.
concern of concern.
Since the center lane is turning the opposite direction, people coming up, they're not gonna have a center left turn lane into that driveway. They're gonna have a straight shot, but the center lane is turning the other direction, so it makes it a lot harder for people to make that turn in. But if they just drive down the road a little ways further, they're gonna have a left turn, dedicated left turn to pull into the site, so.
Or
Okay.
is the signage on both sides of that entrance, do not enter, exit only?
Both sides, yeah.
That's on the
Makes sense,
south,
yeah.
the south.
Correct.
Yeah,
talk-
south.
Yeah,
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 south.
right.
So that's for the exit only, so you're actually directing the truck traffic around to exit there. You don't want
Correct.
anybody coming in
So,
that side.
and we have internal signage as well
Yeah.
that prevents cars, trucks, and delivery vehicles taking a left turn in.
Okay.
So we're directing all trucks, once they get into the site, you know, as the one entrance only to go all the way around.
Yeah, I don't think they could get back to that other side anyway, the trucks, with everything that you have there. You know, if they wanted to come out the other way.
Oh, no,
I think they
yeah.
can.
Well, they'll only do it once.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have.
Yeah, they only do it once, right?
Yeah, they would have to, there's enough room to do a 180-degree turn around
there
in the
is?
back,
Okay.
but that is, it's not convenient. You know, they're gonna know which way they gotta
That's
go.
if nobody's there, so.
Right.
I have a question. How many dispensers are there in the back? It looks to me like there's 4 on the plans, but.
Okay, there's 4 dispensers and there's 3 positions. So what we do, high-speed diesels, these trucks have barrels on both sides, basically tanks on both sides of the truck. So you're able to fill from both directions. So we call it like a master and a satellite. So when you pull in, you'll be able to swipe your credit card on the left and take the master and then walk around to the satellite, put the satellite in, and they both charge you 1 credit card.
And the DEF is gonna be stored somewhere,
And the depth is stored in the top right is yellow.
yeah.
There's gonna be like 1,000-gallon or 2,000-gallon tank for DEF, which is just right off the edge of it.
It'll be available at the pumps, right?
It'll all be available at the
Okay, yeah,
pumps.
that's okay.
Yeah, it'll be a fully functioning dispenser DEF.
Okay,
No 1-gallon jugs to buy and
Good.
drop off.
good.
Okay, we good?
Wait,
Keep,
no.
Hey,
I'm trying to get that end of the table.
It was that end, he went like this. I went the other way.
we got that end of the table.
Okay, go ahead, Jim.
So, and you may have kind of answered something for me that I didn't think about that way. Because as you may have heard before, traffic studies I have an issue with, because they all say, not gonna be any worse. And you're kind of saying the same thing here, but I hadn't thought about it this way, because you do say this is gonna generate some new vehicle trips.
Yes.
But essentially what you're anticipating, the traffic you're gonna bring in is traffic that's going down this road anyway.
Pass by.
That are now gonna come off to get gas or come off to get food. But most of them, there's some new stuff that you're conceding, it's what it looks like to me, what your report says. But most of it is people that are on the road that are gonna come and use this site, that right?
So, just to give you a little bit more context, so both uses provide their own pass-by rates. So the fast food pass-by rate says that 55% of the vehicles come off the adjacent roadway. A convenience gas convenience store is about 89%. However, Connecticut DOT caps the pass-by for gas stations at 60%. So we've used 60%, which is actually less than ITE recommends. So in essence, if you balance it all out, it ends up being about 60%. So we are still generating some new trips. I think it was 203 or so.
203, you say.
203 in the highest peak hour. So that's where we get the numbers of vehicles, new trips on the site. The rest of it, we're saying, yeah, we understand a lot of it's gonna be there anyway.
So, but explain to me, if you would, as a traffic guy, how 203 more per hour does not degrade the intersections on either end?
So it degrades it to some degree, however, 203 in an hour, you have to picture it like, number of vehicles per minute, right?
Yeah.
You're talking about 3 more vehicles per minute, so that's entering and exiting.
Right.
So 3 vehicles entering or exiting the roadway during an hour. And again, because of the 2 egress points, that's split up between the 2 driveways. So essentially, if you want to say it's 3 per hour, it could be 1 at this driveway, it could be 2 at that driveway. And again, now you're talking about left turns and right turns too. So
And right turns don't really worry us.
so the right turns don't really impact the adjacent roadway as much. So we are demonstrating some impact, but if you break it down step by step, the impact is, fairly minimal because of those reasons. If you have somebody in the morning that's taking a right in and a right out towards the interstate,
No big issue.
that's really not gonna be a big deal. We understand there will be some left turn traffic, and again, we've accounted for that, which is why we wanted to demonstrate the need for additional storage.
Well, what we just said, the left turn traffic concerns me. I mean, I don't know the answer to it, but Washington Avenue can get intensely busy. And taking a left turn on all of our businesses up and down Washington Avenue is a nightmare, quite frankly. And you're gonna have the same problem. I don't see a solution for it, but you're gonna have the same problem.
Yeah, I mean, the solution here is providing 2 egress points, whatever one ends up being easiest. And again, we're showing a queue of probably 2 or 3 vehicles coming out of each driveway during the highest peak hour. Again, it's not, we understand that there is some delay associated with that, but, it's fairly common of an unsignalized driveway to experience 20 to 30 seconds of delay. That's pretty consistent with just about any
The
use.
good thing is you do, and we're all familiar with the site, you have a good line of sight. I mean, people
Right.
can see the problems coming anyway. Not that they won't do stupid things, but they can see it.
And one benefit as well is, which DOT would look favorable on, doesn't mean they're gonna glance over what's here, is we're taking, I think, 4 curb cuts existing that could potentially be redeveloped, narrowing that down to 2 controlled areas. So I think they're consolidating that in the overall property is, a net benefit as well. At least I would think DOT would consider that as a benefit as well.
Okay, that's a good point, thank you. I think it's a good use of the property.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Good?
We're all good, you're good. Okay. That winds it right up for you guys? Staff? Any questions?
I just had a comment regarding adding the outdoor seating area into the parking calculation.
Yes.
Just want to be clear that the commission has the authority to determine what your parking needs are, to determine if you have adequate parking, and they're not bound by the table. So I just want to be clear, if that happens to just tip the seesaw over a little bit.
By 0.2 parking spots.
It looked like it was gonna be close, and I did say 1,100 and it's 1080.
Yeah.
But, whatever that is, I never wanna restrict what the desire of the applicant is per se, but the commission has the ability to just say, we believe you have enough parking, and I would want to make sure that no matter what that parking calculation says when we get done, that an approval by the commission is inclusive and that it speaks to the parking situation as well.
So if I may, Al, I'll just give a quick overview, because I saw that comment, and that was the first thing that came to my mind, what could potentially change the site plan. I did that. I added that 1080 square feet of outdoor area, which obviously will be seasonal, and I treated that as part of the restaurant. I think it's the most conservative ratio that you have. I think it's 1 per 75 square feet. That would tip the required parking to 55.2 spaces. We have 55. So we could easily add 1 parking space if the commissions, or we could maybe take 75 square feet off the patio.
No,
Make it
this-
900.
and
So,
honestly-
you know, or if you think 55 is good, I can provide the modified calcs for the record and just leave the plan as is.
55, and you know, you have area for snow removal, I mean, I would.
Okay.
Everything is there. I think everything is there.
Understood, I'm good. Yep.
I was bragging about 4 acres and I'm
All you gotta think about
2.2
is-
spaces off.
Motorcycles. Oh, motorcycles.
I was on a roll.
So there's a QVHD comment here, you guys saw that they need information before you can get a building permit?
I did not see that.
I don't know that was in a timely manner for that to be sent to them. The bottom line is, it says you need their approval as you go to fit out the space. They don't have any issues with your site plan per se.
It's about the convenience store and the restaurant.
All right.
So you can.
Yeah, if you share that, we'll take a look at it.
Yeah.
You know, we're here to work with everybody to make it happen.
Yeah, I guess.
Mr. Chairman, simply for the record, and the commission will do what the commission does, but there were some, oh, I beg your pardon, so sorry.
Yeah, we were hugging.
There were conditions of approval that were proposed on the planner's report that we received today, and those are satisfactory to the client. Thank you.
That, you're all set as far as your presentation goes. That's
Yes,
it.
nothing further to add.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Five minutes?
3 minutes?
How about 7?
I think 3.5.
Yeah, the food service.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Where does the self-serve ice cream machine go?
I don't care.
What do we got next?
We gotta be deliberate. We gotta be deliberate.
If you could slam that gavel, or are you going to continue?
We're gonna continue again.
I'm good, I'm.
Okay, we're gonna continue. Let them clear out, and we'll be all set.
Thank you. Other is 1 Lincoln, Mr. Yakarino.
Let's do another.
Right here, right there.
Let's do other.
Okay, okay, we're gonna continue on. Dave?
Thank you.
No.
Hi, good evening, I'm Dave Yacarino. I live at 1804 Hartford Turnpike, North Haven, Connecticut. I'm looking to do something at 1 Lincoln Street, North Haven, Connecticut. Before I start, I want to thank you all. I'm sitting here listening, and you're all volunteers, and I really give you a lot of credit. It takes so many people like you in every town, and I'm not just saying it, I really believe this, that makes it a good difference, so thank you, and thank you, Pam. Good seeing you. So I'm here, I gave Mr. Frederickson a letter and a drawing. I own DJ Sports Collectibles and Comics for 32 years, North Haven. And I'm looking to put a 10 by 14 Clota Farms, not a permanent shed, because you could pick those up and move with a forklift, on my property for storage. I just, between stuff I have in my garage at home, I just need more storage. A snow blower, I take a snow blower on my truck in the winter and I bring it down, and it's just a pain. And then boxes and other stuff, but That's what I'm here
And
for, so.
you didn't do a prenup that
I know, I
your
told
wife doesn't
Teresa.
get the,
So,
doesn't get the
I
space
just
in
want
the
to note for
garage.
the record that it says, I am newly married and need my garage
Well,
back for my
yeah.
wife's car.
I do, and
I love
I,
that. Who
I
doesn't?
do. Maybe I can smoke a cigar out there when I'm fortunate. But, no, I really, I have a basement, I can't put a snow blower down there, the lawnmower, it's just not safe, and,
So just to be
We get it.
clear,
What-
these
what
these
else
are
do you put in there,
devices
Dave?
that are used to service the property at 1 Lincoln Street.
Yeah.
Right.
I have
so
one for
you're
home
not
and I have one
storing
at the
things
store.
for your
I have
house
two
at
snow
the-
blowers.
okay, right.
I bought a new one a couple years ago because I don't know, just needed it.
You just can't.
But it's more for convenience, to be honest with you.
Dave, you can put what you want in there.
Well, I just want,
Put all those comic books right in.
well, there's no climate control out there, but,
But in any event, that's all you want to shed?
yeah, and I'll put crushed, you're gonna put 3/4 inch crushed stone. And you go around, then I'll probably put flowers or something. I keep the property pretty nice, keep flowers around it, and, yeah.
Okay, you understand,
We got it.
I'm sure you do, that you just have to get an approval from us.
Yeah, that's why I'm here.
Okay,
Hopefully,
so,
yeah.
anybody got any questions in respect to this?
Nope.
The commission?
Good luck to you.
No,
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Anybody here? We're good?
No, and I mean it, it's amazing, every board in our town and our state, you guys volunteer, so,
Dave, very good, thanks so much.
thank you.
You mean I'm not
Pick your
getting
paper.
paid?
Pick your paper.
Oh, no, I was reading a book. I'll see
Okay,
you.
thank you.
I'll see you, Dave.
Congratulations, by the way.
You're taking bonds?
No,
Oh, I'm sorry. All right, changes of use, I guess. Next page. I know,
Why
it's-
is this screwed up? Okay, change of use, 83 State Street, is this a
Anyone here?
dance school?
Anyone here for 83 State Street?
Studio of Dance. Anybody for the dance studio?
Well,
Dance studio?
Dance studio, anybody here? 83 State Street?
No.
No?
Okay, we'll pass that one.
I just wondered, the couple who were here, what they were here for, if they sensed there was a break upcoming, I'm not
Well,
sure.
unless
They come
you're,
back,
I
we'll
think
go
they're
back
here
out.
Well,
with Parisi's.
unless you're gonna
Okay.
chase them.
okay.
Is there any, can I speak for 83 State Street? I
can't- you can't
I
if
don't
you want.
know a whole lot about it, but they had inquired about putting a permittable use, which is studio of dance, at King Acres Plaza there, 83 State. It's the place where the advisor was, and the advisor's gonna move down, and it's gonna work out such that he can fill the shopping center, which I guess is a good thing.
So what type of dance studio is this?
Vern?
He just said.
I don't want to ask these hard
I
questions.
don't know, I guess they move their arms and legs and.
Well, I mean,
I guess.
I wasn't sure if you were going in there to do some ballroom dancing. But in any event, let's get this.
You might be able to learn
Okay, so-
ballroom dancing
Take it
there.
up in deliberations, all right, next one.
Okay, 1876 Hartford Turnpike.
Ah, we have a question.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening, take your time.
So I'm Candace Pollock. Been a chiropractor in town for 12 years. I'm in the process of opening my own place now.
Okay, great.
You were on Washington Avenue? before?
Yeah, yeah. I had a partner, and we're just going our separate ways, so.
You doing Wilder and Washington Avenue?
But yeah,
You are?
yeah.
Good enough. Good enough. And you're gonna do the same thing here?
Yep, just chiropractic, laser therapy.
Okay, any questions? from
Not
anybody?
at all.
Nope.
We're familiar with her, so, yep.
Okay.
All right, well, great, thank you.
Thank you very
everybody.
much.
So it's going from meat and seafood, squeezing the meat.
Okay, now we gotta go back.
Bonds.
Yep, the bond, the
We can do
bond.
those at deliberations
Sure.
if people want to take a break. She seems to be
Oh, you got-
indicating she wants to break.
okay. All right, take a 5-minute break. 10-minute break. Yeah, okay. We're back, folks. Okay, in order, get a motion to go into deliberation.
Make a
Well,
motion.
we're gonna do the bonds?
We're gonna do the in deliberation, or?
I'm gonna do a deliberation.
Okay,
Make a motion to go
Okay.
into deliberation.
okay.
Okay, I have
thank
a
you,
motion,
thank
and a
you,
second,
Thank you.
a second,
Who seconded?
Paul did.
I'll second.
Paul
Yeah.
seconded.
okay, all in favor?
All right.
Okay, okay, first one up we got is the special permit on 88 Bassett Road for the East School. So, I think it was presented pretty clearly. I would like to get a motion to approve as it was presented.
With, of course, all our staff
Every-
comments.
Right, everything, if there's any approvals tonight, will all be conditioned to land use administrator and town engineer. Go to
Okay.
and
Okay, so you're doing a special permit, so the site plan comments won't be in that.
no, it'll be next.
Will
Site
approve
plan
subject to
separate.
filing, et cetera. Okay.
I got to do the special permit first.
First, we're doing special permit.
You'll hit the site plan
After.
at the site plan.
Yeah.
We're doing.
No, we'll do that
Immediately,
consecutive. Okay,
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the special permit for Bassett Road.
okay. I have a motion, can I get a second?
I'll second.
Second.
All one,
Paul.
okay.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Special permit, okay. Jim, make a motion for the site plan.
Make a motion to approve the site plan for 88 Bassett Road. We have to tell her who's making the motion, and who's seconding it. She's writing like a madman.
Okay, we have a motion. Can I get a second?
I'll second that on Brian.
Okay, Brian. He seconds it. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
And just duly noted that that one includes all of the staff comments.
Everything for the
That will
staff.
reflect.
Geez, I think that's correct. Okay, now we're going right to site plans, which would be Morrow Motors. That also, I think any questions that were in respect to this application, I think were answered very clearly tonight, so I think we should approve this as it was presented.
I will make a motion to approve as presented.
Okay, I have a motion, can I get a second?
I'll second that motion.
Brian seconds it. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We're going over next on that one, we're gonna go to, the next one we're going to is 395 State Street. Teresa?
Yes.
Okay.
I will-
Wait a minute,
Okay,
get a
sorry.
motion to approve as Teresa is presented. Go ahead.
I'm gonna make a motion to approve, of course, with staff comments, with the provision to slide the one deciduous tree, on the north side down toward the rock swale, to delineate outdoor storage area with a 3-foot striped area, and to allow for the blue spruces to be between 7 and 8 feet tall for, along State Street.
And a double row on that.
In a staggered row, yes, in a staggered row, and, but like I said, with staff comments.
Got it.
Okay, we have a motion,
I'll second it.
okay, and we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, very good. Now we have, on that one, we have a
I'm
CAM.
sorry, who had the second?
Yeah.
Yep, but we also have a CAM on this one here. Can I get a motion to approve the CAM?
Motion to approve.
The CAM at,
I'll second that as well.
okay, so I have a motion and a second on the CAM, which is 2023-13A. Tanya?
Yes, I vote.
Okay, you got that, very good. I have a motion, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving along here to, the next one would be 299 Washington Avenue, which is, the application was just presented us as we know it as Parisi. I think it was very well presented to us and very clear. I would like to get a motion to approve.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make that motion to approve it as presented.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got a motion to approve by Brian and,
I'll second that.
okay, motion to
Paul.
approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, very good. So we got that, do we have anything with this, no kids, no nothing, okay, so now we're gonna move.
Oh, the 1 Lincoln Street, Yakarino.
Yakarino, okay, where we go, yeah. Dave Yakarino, thank you very much, gentlemen. Dave Yakarino, he wants to, put a shed up there. And certainly
Make a motion to approve his shed to be allowed on the property.
Okay,
I will second that.
okay, we have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Now we go to the bond releases,
Okay, so.
Andy,
Okay,
can you
so,
give me a rundown on that,
Sure.
Universal Drive?
first one, 150 Universal Drive, that's that Legends Auto Boutique. There was a few issues when he finished his initial construction, but I came back to him with a list of things. He took care of them right away, no hassles, no problems, so I'm satisfied with what's out there and
Okay,
recommend full release.
the full release on that, and one second, Andy, can I get a motion to release that bond, the 150 Universal,
Motion to approve releasing the bond 150 Universal
in its entirety?
in its entirety.
Okay, and a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, very good, Brian, thank you.
So,
All in favor?
who had the second?
I did.
Brian.
Right, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. 600 Universal,
Yep, so that's Panera Bread. Kind of a long time in the making, but they're finally at the point where they're open, and yeah, everything was good out there.
everything's good. Okay, motion to approve Panera Bread, 600 Universal.
This is Jim, I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay,
Yeah.
Jim made a motion. Can I get a second?
I'll second, Paul.
Okay, Paul, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Now we're going to the, we gotta go to the change of use, which is 83 State Street, there's some sort of a dance studio on Kings Plaza. Can I get a motion to approve that? Or do you have any more questions?
I'll make a motion to approve dance studio going into
Okay.
the
So that
advisory.
Alan could do ball and dance.
Yes.
I'll second Alan's effort to do ball and dance.
Alan, you better show up. Okay, I have a motion and a second.
Who had the motion?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Teresa has a
Aye.
motion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve 1876 Hartford Turnpike as to, whatever.
Chiropractor.
Yep, chiropractor going in there. That, can I get a motion to approve that?
I'll make a motion to approve 1876 Hartford Turnpike.
Okay, I have a motion and a second.
And I'll second it, Paul.
Okay, motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good. Takes care of that board. Okay, minutes of June 5th, 2023.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, all in favor? I'll have a second.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and Jim, motion adjourned?
But, hold it, can you do the meeting date, please, the 2024 meeting date?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I know.
I will make a motion to approve the 2024 meeting dates.
Okay,
Okay.
have a second? Second, somebody?
Someone.
I'll second, Paul.
Come on, come on, you guys.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so that's taken, okay. Then I get a motion to adjourn. Jim?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay,
And I'll second that,
all
Paul.
right, all in favor?
Aye.
All in
Aye,
favor?
aye,
Aye.
Okay, thank you so much, folks.
Thank you.
See you later.
Aye.